Welcome to Dunndark.
And welcome to Trick and Treat. This is a sort of a spooky themed VN. It's October, so I'm trying to do some stuff for Spooktober, you see. I don't know how many Spooktober games I'll do, but I'll see how it works out. Anyways, this is a free visual novel on Steam. It's by Spanish developer Eternal Night Studios. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. But anyways, let's get started. I don't know much about this game, so we'll see how this pans out. The sound of our steps, combined with that of occasional nocturnal animals, is the only thing we can hear. It's terribly dark in this place. The dense vegetation makes it impossible to see the sky or the light from the moon. Our flashlights are the only things that light our way. Okay, I was wondering, are those icons supposed to be slowly off screen? But yeah, they're meant to be like that. I'm gonna leave the mouse off the screen. Like, I'm not gonna record the mouse because I found out with with Carpe Diem Reboot that was really annoying to have the mouse on the screen, so I'm gonna leave it off. Anyways, let's keep going. Times like this, one begs to not run out of battery. We walk without knowing what we are really looking for, or better said, for no reason. We're just a group of boys, bored with our lives, trying to create a lasting memory on this night instead of just staying home and doing nothing. Today is October 31st, All Hallows Eve, better known as Halloween. This is Halloween. 3 young men walk through a dark, but up until now, nothing special forest, me being one of them. We are doing it to prove our courage. It's too bad there isn't a girl here to see how brave we are. I mean, of course, you don't just be brave for your friends. Like, you're not girlfriends, you know what I mean? You're not friends who are girls. You're friends who are not girls, that's it. Sing it like that. One could say this is a meaningless effort. For a moment, I stop to look at my watch. It's 1:49 p.m. This means we've been walking aimlessly for more than 2 hours now. I'm sure that many people would find a place like this terrifying. Oh yes, by the way, I haven't changed the text speed. This is a great text speed, I'm just gonna say that. People should set their default text speed to something like this more often. But once you get used to it, the fear disappears, making it feel like normal. What makes us afraid of the dark is that we cannot know what hides in it, what lurks in the shadows. But this is clearly an empty darkness. At that moment, I sigh, feeling how tired my legs are. What is the point of being here? Clearly, we've already demonstrated what we wanted. It would be best to return, I should tell them. I was about to speak, when suddenly the atmosphere in the forest becomes strange. Suddenly a cold chill runs through my body. It was like any other chill, except it wasn't going away. For no reason, the air's temperature dropped off from 1 second to the other. So much so, my breath becomes visible, turning into mist. Doesn't end there. The air is filled with a rotten smell, just a little short of being unbearable. Images of worms and flies soon appear in my mind, giving me a really unpleasant feeling. We all stop at this moment. Axel, is that the main character here? Or is it one of his friends? What's happening? Oh, that's the main character. I asked confused while turning to look at my friends. By the expressions on their faces, it was easy to know that they were just as lost as I was. It was then that we heard footsteps nearby that did not come from any of us. We all got dead quiet after that. I don't know if it was out of fear or to check if it was not a mistake, but we stayed motionless, like statues, without making a noise. Just looking at each other's faces, wondering the same thing. Friend says, what was happening? I like that name, Friend. As if I could know. We heard the steps again. They clearly belonged to a human, or at least a large animal. But there was something strange about them. It sounds as if the person walked dragging 1 foot. Just thinking about it made me shiver. Man, you know what's really scary is limping people. That's some scary stuff right there. Damn, why is this happening? It makes no sense. We should have returned home before, but now it's too late to regret it. I have a feeling that we are being stalked by someone. Strange footsteps stop, but I'm still feeling the presence nearby. I don't know where it is, but I know that it's looking at me. The cursed thing is looking at me. My heart is beating anxiously. It's almost as if my body was telling me to get out of there. But strangely, my friends seemed unable to perceive it. It seems as if it's gone. It must have just been an animal, said one of them, convinced that we were safe. I would like to believe that too. We had a sigh of relief. However, bad luck would soon strike us again. Was that bad luck? I mean, they just heard a few steps and smelled something that smelled bad. Unexpectedly, the forest becomes darker than before in just the blink of an eye. But it wasn't the fall of the forest, but of our own flashlights, which went out. Okay, that is pretty bad luck. Of the three, only one, mine, was still working. What's going on? Did the batteries die? Asked one of them, scared. Wow, they both beat them desperately, as if that was going to revive them. Can't blame them. The idea of walking in the darkness was not pleasant for anyone. But after a few moments, we had no choice but to resign ourselves to that. Once more, the sound of our footsteps is heard. But the silence is different now. We are not quiet because we have nothing to say, but rather because we are afraid. We continue walking despite the fear that invades us. Visibility is almost low, but we have no choice. In theory, we were walking back looking for the exit, but I can't remember anything of this forest. We could be walking in circles and I would never notice it. Until it's too late. I hate the idea of it. I just want to get out of here. 8 dots, is that? Yeah, 8 dots. That's strange. Usually it's like a multiple of 3. Suddenly, my thoughts are silenced. We hear the footsteps of someone or something. Once more, the 3 of us become statues, awaiting the presence to go. I hold my breath while feeling my heart beating anxiously. Damn. Get away from here and leave us alone. Unexpectedly, the steps are heard closer. This time, they do not disappear, but come at us. I couldn't stand it. Desperately, I move my flashlight everywhere, looking for the author of those footsteps, hoping for the light to reveal their identity and erase our fears. Nothing. Is that all there is around here? Just empty air? My anxiety grows with each failed attempt. I refuse to believe that it was a ghost. Suddenly, when I move my flashlight again, I see a silhouette. I could not distinguish what it is, but for a moment, the light revealed something. Quickly, I point to the same place, only to discover it was gone. I hold my breath anxiously. It was not an illusion. I am sure that I saw something. It was then that I hear something nearby. Without even thinking, I aim the light towards that place. How many dots is that this time? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 dots? Huh. What I found leaves us paralyzed, with an expression of disbelief on our faces. It's a cat. Oh, it's just a cat. I mean, that's not very spooky. It's a white cat with eyes of an intense red, which stands before us. Her look is not the friendliest, to say something. Somehow I get the feeling that it's a female cat. Suddenly, she lets out a thunderous meow that leaves us terrified. It sounds more like a lion roaring than a simple cat. The echo of her meow is heard throughout the forest, making it sound more sinister than it should be. It was then that suddenly an inexplicable force hits us 3. Oh, a bunch of dots here. I fell to the ground, and little by little, my eyelids close. The fatigue becomes unbearable. So, cat meows, they all fall on the ground, and then they fall asleep or something. They became fatigued. I lose consciousness on the ground of the forest without knowing what was going to happen with me. Or his friends. Interlude, before night falls. Oh, we're getting a little prequel? It's 10 minutes in, we get a prequel, flashback or something, right? Oh, here we are. We're in our house or something. We got a little iMac or something there. We got a chair, a fancy shelf here, a little very abstract. Lots of different shelves on the shelf. A nice little lamp. A fancy chair there. Anyways, it's a day like any other. So normal that it was almost painful. The only special thing that could be said is that it's October 31st. Far were the memories when I was a kid and went out with my friends to go ask for sweets from house to house. Just remembering it made me sigh. I felt nostalgic. Some things were better when I was a child, or at least it seems like that. There were some who had good costumes, whether of superheroes or monsters. My friends and I, on the other hand, had to use our imagination. Creativity was our only costume, you could say, no matter how funny it could sound. Remember that my mother once painted my face red and told me, "You will be the devil." But it seems that only she saw it that way. I went from home to home. Everyone said I was the Tomato Man. Ah yes, the Tomato Man. Everyone knows about the Tomato Man. Oh, clearly. Hey, that kid's painted red. He's the Tomato Man. But those things didn't matter to me, since we always had a good time. Yeah, I love it when people come to my house to trick-or-treat, and then I see one dressed up as the Tomato Man, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna give you a fresh tomato. You have to give the Tomato Man a fresh tomato, or he'll spook you. That's how it works. It's like those copy pastas. By copy pastas, I mean memes. By memes, I mean those things that say if you don't upvote in 3 seconds, you'll get cursed by the Tomato Man of tomatoes. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. If I asked for candy now, even if I had the best costume, I'm sure no one would give me anything. Except perhaps a scolding for acting like a child when I am 17 years old. Yeah, I heard some places were like outlawing going trick-or-treating if you're like older than 12 or something. I mean, seriously? I mean, if you're 17, you probably shouldn't be trick-or-treating, but yeah, shouldn't be against the law. But anyways, I can't stay in the past. See, there's your political opinion right here. I must live in the present, no matter how little exciting that might be. Thoughts. Back to reality. We are a group of friends who didn't have any plans for today. We're still not old enough to go to a disco. Ah, yes, you know, you can't just go to the discos because when you're 17. No one will let you inside a disco when you're 17. It's a fun fact. I doubt guys, as us, would have any luck in that environment. Yeah, discos can be a little rough. The other option would be to go to a party, meet girls, and have fun. You know, the thing that normal people do. Everything's perfect, except that nobody invited us. Not being popular has its disadvantages. Well, that's a little rough. You didn't get invited to anyone's Halloween party? Why don't you have your own Halloween party? Invite all the girls. Have a fun time, you know? Be all dressed up and have, I don't know, whatever you do at Halloween parties. I never get invited, so I wouldn't know. Hey, Axel. Let's have a couple matches. What do you say? My friend Steven called my attention while playing with the game console. Rush Red. I believe that's what the game is called. A fast and quite complicated fighting game for me. Oh yeah. Well, you know the thing about fighting games is that, you know, your friend says, hey, you want to play the fighting game with me? But he's the guy, you know, who like always plays the fighting game and is like super good and like practices like 9 hours a day on it. And you're like, and you know, if you even try, it'll be like you have no chance because you don't play the game 9 hours a day. So then you're like, I don't know about that. Like, I won't even get a hit in on you. I would normally agree to play with him, but for some reason, I didn't feel in the mood today. Yeah, I have problems with fighting games. Scarred memories. I have no desire to play now. I replied with discouragement. I almost felt bad for doing it. Boring. The AI is no rival for me. Oh yeah, this guy plays all day. Steven said with confidence. That you're playing on normal difficulty does not help your argument. Oh yeah, why don't you... Okay, then play on hard or whatever. I don't feel like losing, but if you want, you can challenge it to Alfred. I said, leaning the attention to my other friend. I don't know how to play that, answered Alfred, doubting for a second. He is sitting behind the PC, but it seems he isn't doing anything interesting. The screen only shows a lot of text. I think he's on Wikipedia. Hey, don't you have something more fun to do? I asked with discouragement, without even thinking about what he was reading. Alfred looks at me surprised. The actual problem of society is that people are not interested in discovering their history. That's true. That's fair. He's one of those pseudo-intellectuals like me. I understand. Always looking for any rare information to appear smarter than others. Yeah, I know that feeling. When we forget our past mistakes, we are doomed to repeat them. He added later. What are you talking about? This village is small, and its story isn't interesting at all. Nothing outside of the normal has ever happened in it. Alfred laughs mockingly after hearing that. Your ignorance is worthy of praise, Alfred says. He pauses, filling his chest with pride. The very fact that it is a small town is the reason it's full of mysteries. Did you know that 20 years ago, on this date, a man disappeared? So, what about it? I asked without being impressed or even interested in the least. Things like that happen all the time in places. In all places. As I thought, you don't know anything about the history despite living in this very place, Alfred said while adjusting his glasses in an arrogant gesture. Wait, you gotta take your glasses and like push them up. They have to shine a little, like an anime. And then you have to be all like, oh, you don't understand. There's a legend behind the disappearance. That's what I was reading. After listening to him, I looked back at the computer screen with curiosity. It's then that I noticed it was not Wikipedia, but some other page that looks like Wikipedia apparently. Come on, read this and learn a little, Alfred said, inviting us to read what was on the screen. Both Stephen and I moved closer to read it. Well, these games with no voice acting don't give me any time to like sip my tea or whatever. Town of Abingdon, Oxfordshire County, 1994. Okay. I guess that's where they live. I came to this town with only 4,000 inhabitants to support them in an investigation. Truth is that never in my life have I seen something so strange. I wouldn't say your typical detective-ish nonsense that I've seen thousands of strange things in my life. I've seen memory crimes, yes. Some difficult to solve, but all of them were human. Even if you don't know how they were mangled to perpetrate the crime, you know that they were people like anyone else. In this case, I don't think I'm able to say the same thing. Truth is that I can't understand what happened. I was called for the disappearance of a man named Matthew Graham. 23 years, single. The last time, I know that feeling. Last time he was seen returning from home from a Halloween party. Except for going to the Halloween party and drinking. He had drank alcohol, but was still sober. Or at least, that's what the witnesses said. Anyways, this is not something which can be explained with a simple drunkenness. He apparently got lost on the way home and decided to enter the forest called Oakwood. That's a kind of a generic name for forest. I imagine it's filled with oak trees. It had rained yesterday, so the ground was still wet and muddy. We could easily find his traces, which were leading deep inside the forest. Apparently, he walked for 3 hours before stopping. I said, stop. But the truth is, we don't know what happened then. The track suddenly ended up in a clearing in the forest, and that's all. There was no evidence of struggle, no other trace, or pieces of clothing on the ground. There was no blood, no more footprints, or anything else. The depth of his last footprints and the position they were in indicated that he was still walking. At no point he stood still. It was as if he vaporized into the air, with all his clothes, in the middle of the walk. Obviously, I can't believe such a thing, but I can't give it another explanation. The only thing I remember is that near the footprints I sensed a faint smell of rot. Oh, so like what we saw in the beginning of the story. However, there was no animal corpses nearby. It is ridiculous to think that he suddenly started to decay and became earth. In the end, the case was just closed in 3 days. With no evidence of any kind, we couldn't say anything that but that he decided to escape from the village. However, while officially there was no more to do, I couldn't sleep in peace. Thinking about what could have happened took away my sleep. In my mind, I thought of all sorts of theories, like maybe everything was a plan developed by Matthew. But in the end, they all seemed impossible. I decided to investigate more on the issue. I searched town for similar stories, and to my surprise, I found 4 more. Oh, 4 more people have disappeared? All young men. The story was always the same. They walked into the forest, alone, disappearing without trace. Even more curious is that all of them disappeared on the same date, October 31st. But there is more! A detail that completely eliminates the possibility that there's a killer or kidnapper behind this, and that is the separation of the years. Roger Bacon disappeared in 1924. Mitchell Smith disappeared in 1867. Oh boy. Jason Black disappeared in 1813. And the worst of all, Oswald Taylor disappeared in 1707. My goodness, that's a long time ago. It simply couldn't be possible. My curiosity had led me to dig deeper. I thought that the answer might be in the past of the forest. It was then I discovered what seemed to be a simple and boring forest. What seemed to be a simple and boring forest was actually hid a great story. For it was called Oakwood, or Oak's Forest. The place was actually called the Witchwood. Spooky. The word witch has huge similarity with witch, or if that's how you say it. Taking into consideration that it is an old name and language changes over time, that indicates that it was the forest of witches. Apparently, more than 400 years ago, the people of the village believed that witches lived in the woods. Fortunately, almost all the information is already lost. They were stories told in voice without a properly written record. I just know that with the change of religion to Christian, people stopped seeing the witches with good eyes and began to hunt them. Oh, I see. Apparently the last one, before her death, cast a curse on the forest, which even exists today. Which even today should continue to exist. Oh, I see. Right, the witch trials. They went after all the witches. But the last witch cast a curse, and then 4 people plus this guy, so 5, have disappeared in the forest over the years. Huh. Anyways, obviously I cannot accept something like that as the answer. In the end, I have no other choice than accepting that each one of them escaped from the village, using the legend of the forest to make it look like it was something supernatural. Interesting story. I didn't know such a story was hiding in this town. I said honestly surprised. Even if it is a lie, it managed to hold my interest. Well, there is something more, Alfred said at the same time he scrolls to the comments. Read what's written there. A couple of comments called our attention. Both of them talk about some creature. At that time, they felt a horrible fear for what could happen to them. Well, the 2 comments share great similarities, but they could have been written by the same person. There are many others that deny it. Looks like many people went to the forest because of the legend, but couldn't find anything. Dots. I thought that you only read these things to look more cool before the girls, replied Stephen as a joke. Alfred giggles with a little shame. Well, partially yes. He admitted it. That was a secret everyone silently knew. Well, now that we have an activity for tonight, Stephen said at the same time he makes in the face, overflowing with enthusiasm. What? I was completely lost. I thought we were just killing time. Simple. Let's go to the forest. Stephen replied without hesitation. He seemed really fascinated by the story. Are you insane? Said Alfred, unable to believe what he had just heard. You only need to look at his face to know that he did not like the idea. Despite everything you've heard, you still want to go? Of course, it would be a test of courage among us 3, replied Stephen with confidence, perhaps a little too much. He should relax a bit. Don't tell me you're afraid. No, why would I be afraid? Answered Alfred, at the same time he folds his arms, making a false gesture of security. It's more than obvious that you are afraid, Alfred. Almost as much as you were when you have to talk to a girl. What about you, Alex? Axel, Alex, don't tell me that you won't come. Suddenly Steven asked me, at the same time while looking at me mockingly. Don't tell me you want to be the chicken of the group? I hate that tone of voice he uses. I will never give you that, I said without thinking, showing a confident smile and look. Well, let's not say more. Take your coats, backpacks, flashlights, and some food. We're going to the forest. Steven said full of energy. Yeah! Okay. We three said in unison, as if we were going to have some kind of private party. Not really knowing what we were doing or what we were going to find. 2:13 a.m. I awake, completely confused, not knowing how much time had passed. Okay, so this is after they passed out. My head hurts like hell, but I can't blame it. Fortunately, the pain goes away quickly, just as my confusion. Soon I come back to my senses. My flashlight is lying on the ground, shining towards the empty air. I immediately pick it up. It was my only protection against the darkness that surrounds me. Then I remember that Steven and Alfred were with me. Steven! Alfred! Can you hear me? Without thinking, I screamed their names in the dark, while trying to find them with my flashlight, but there was no trace of them. They were gone. Where the hell are they? And just what the heck happened? I really don't understand anything. Shit, we should have stayed at home. This is not a proof of courage. We could be in danger. I have to find them. 2:19 a.m. So I guess 6 minutes later. Okay. Little time has passed since I started to look for my friends, and I already can't stand this place. I'm going crazy in this forest. The darkness that covers it is unusual. It is a darkness that steals your own sanity, replacing it with anxiety. To make it worse, the air is damp and cold as in the winter, carrying a strong rot smell, as if there are corpses of animals hidden throughout the forest. The atmosphere in this place is oppressive, with each step you take making it more uncomfortable. Since I started to look for my friends, I felt that someone was watching me, but there is nothing. I sigh with my voice full of frustration. I just want to get out of here. I continue walking, devoid of hope. No matter where I look or how much I walk, I find nothing. I cannot even hear the sounds of the animals. Rather, it seems that they're already dead and rotting. No, I have to calm myself, I said to myself. I stop for a moment to rest. I breathe deeply, but the rotten air does me no good. Immediately, I start to cough, as if I had something stuck in my throat. Shit! What am I gonna do? This cursed forest seems endless. And even by miracle, I could escape. I cannot abandon Steven and Alfred. I'm really screwed up. Again, I sigh, feeling on the verge of tears. My frustration is building up, but I have to do my best to keep calm. If I fall into despair, then there's no doubt I will be joining the list of missing persons. In the end, I decided to keep walking. Step by step. I should get somewhere. At least, I was convinced that staying in the same place would not do me any good. Even if it was only to deceive myself, feeling I am doing something, I want to continue walking. Time passes without any changes. Only the sound of my footsteps can be heard. Knowing that as soon as you stop, you will be surrounded by a dead silence is a good incentive to keep walking. But my legs were already hurting. Suddenly, I hear a crack at my feet. Instantly, I take a step back and look below to see what made that sound. What is this? I whispered to myself, surprised, discovering that I had stepped on an animal bone. I believe that's from an animal, although I do not rule out the possibility that could have belonged to a person. But for my own good, I prefer not to think about that. An expression of anxiety is anguish is drawn to my face. It's best to ignore it. I gotta keep walking. Suddenly, a flashlight reveals something. Without hesitation, I pull it towards there again. Dots. A cat. Only to realize with surprise that it's the white cat. The one from before, which made that awful meow. But this time, I found it laying on the ground. It appears that it is fainted and wounded. Then, what should I do? Oh, I can make a choice here. Let's make a save game. Actually, I think I'll cut this off here. This is exactly 30 minutes. I'm gonna come back next time with my choice. Yeah, this is pretty cool though. It's a lot of narration. I have to take a break though. Anyways, thanks for watching everyone, and I will see you next time.